This is Genesis 3, verse 17 through 19. This is where God turns to the man. And what he says doesn't just affect Adam, it changes the relationship between humanity and the earth itself. What was once joyful work becomes painful toil. What was once abundance becomes survival. The ground is cursed. Thorns and thistles rise in the body. Bread now comes through sweat. And for the first time, death is named directly. To dust you shall return. It's not just consequence. It's about calling, accountability, and a God who still speaks even when discipline comes. The clip that you're about to see, I go deeper into Genesis 3:17 through 19 from one of our live stream Bible studies. Now we go live just about every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern, walking through the word one verse at a time. So if that sounds like something you want to be a part of, go ahead and check to see if the subscribe button is clicked. And also make sure that the bell icon is clicked as well. That way YouTube can notify you the moment that we go live. And stick around until the end of the video because I'll be asking a reflection question to help this verse move deeper into your spirit, not just in your mind. You can keep your answer private, you can share it in the comment section, or you can message me directly at philipanglade.com, where all of my social media, projects, and contact info is listed. You can even share what you're personally going through or what you're praying for. I'd love to be able to walk you through and point you to what the word says about that situation. Now, let's go into the word together. Enjoy the clip, God bless, and just keep reading. All right, so what we're going to be doing is breaking down Genesis chapter 3, verse 17 through 19. We had, an extensive portion right here, so let's really get into the word and really dive into this. So then to Adam, he said, because you have listened to your wife, as opposed to listening to me, which is God, and you have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you, saying you shall not eat from it. Because of this, essentially, cursed is the ground because of you. So thank God he didn't say cursed is you because of what you've done, but essentially cursed is the ground because of you. Cursed is your work. With hard labor you shall eat from it all the days of your life, both thorns and thistles it shall grow for you. Yet you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread. For a lot of people, they'll probably be happy about you shall eat bread all the days of your life. Cool. For some people at least, until you return to the ground, because from it you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return. So here we have a lot of new Hebrew words that come from this. So, take the time to really dive in deep into each of these words. In our live session, we went through each one of these words. For time's sake, we'll go ahead and skip through and really focus on the words that mattered that stuck out the most to us in our observations. All right, so here are the observations for chapter 3, verse 17 through 19. So God uses the word kol. Let's see how you pronounce this specific word right here. So here in Genesis 3:8, we have the pronunciation. So yeah, kol is how you pronounce it. Great. And we'll see it right here, kol. So to the voice of your wife. So lekol eshte ko, or ka, right? Is how it's pronounced here. So God uses the same word for the word kol as he did earlier when Adam said he heard God in the garden. So that struck me. Adam feared God's voice, yet listened to Eve's voice. Very interesting. Obviously, that's not the best thing to be able to do. So the judgment is twofold, because number one, he listened to his wife, and number two, he ate from the tree. Not just the act of eating from the tree. I'm recognizing that it was separated, but it's also misplaced as obedience. So what I'm sharing here is the fact that he doesn't just put it together. He says, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, number one. Number two, a separate essentially sin or reason why he's angry. Not angry, but he has given this punishment. So number one, because you have listened to your wife, and number two, you have eaten from the tree in which I told you not to eat from it. So I see it as two separate things. So the judgment was twofold, because he listened to his wife and because he ate from the tree. So not just the action, but also the misplaced obedience. So the curse is on the ground, not Adam. I think that's at least a positive, right? But the ground was Adam's purpose. When you go back to Genesis 2, he was made to tend the ground in Genesis 2. So his punishment matched his design. His punishment matched his purpose, is how I had it laid out in our unedited version. So I'm realizing that often our punishment directly correlates to our calling. So what we were created to steward becomes the source of our struggle if we step outside of God's will. And this is honestly how I felt as far as what I was doing in the past, as far as with the Forex and, sharing, as far as, me being this person that knew a lot, not knew a lot, but was trading very, very well, even though I wasn't. So then I was pulled from that and literally lost everything in that particular stance. But now, because of his grace, and being able to get closer to God, I've been able to feel way closer to him, as opposed to that separation in the past. So the word for it shall grow thorns, as we continue, the word for it shall grow thorns is a female suffix. So I was really diving in deep in this portion right here in the live session. I encourage you to be able to get into the live session so you can be able to see where all these observations come from and how we get to each one. Just go ahead and click on the subscribe button, then on the bell, so that when we get on, you can be able to see when we're actually getting on live. So the growth of the thorns and thistles is tied to the ground, which is the female in the Hebrew. So the thorns and thistles is based upon what he's actually eating will turn into thorns and thistles. Not the ground will turn into thorns and thistles, but inside the body is how I came up with this. Tied to what he was eating. Okay. So by the sweat of your face, the Hebrew word for face also means anger or nose, which I thought was interesting, which makes me wonder, is there also a layer here of emotion inside of the toil or inside of the work, or distress inside of his labor, right? You shall eat bread. That's not as joyous as eating the fruit freely in the garden. It sounds like survival, not abundance. So dust you are, and dust you shall return. God ties Adam back to the physical world. It feels like he's saying, since you chose the material, now you're stuck in the material, which is obviously unfortunate. So when it comes to the community observations, go ahead and put in the comment section. Let's really break it down. So let me show you how I broke it down as far as this section right here. And I encourage you, hey, share your thoughts for each portion, right? If you're able. So then to Adam, he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, write something for that portion. And you have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you, you shall not eat from it. Cool. A portion for that. Cursed is the ground because of you. What are your thoughts on that part? With hard labor, you shall eat from it all the days of your life, right? A portion for that. Both thorns and thistles will grow for you. Yet you shall eat the plants of the field by the sweat of your face. You shall eat bread until you return to the ground, because from it you were taken, for dust you are and dust you shall return. What are your thoughts for these portions right here? You can write something for the entire portion or broken down in a segment manner like that, whichever way you'd like. Now, this is Anthony's observations as far as the AI. So work becomes painful, not optional. Adam was meant to work, but his creation resists him now. But now creation resists him. So Adam was meant to work in the beginning, but now creation resists him, which is unfortunate. Labor becomes a fight now, as opposed to you can have anything of the garden. Now it's going to work. It's unfortunate. So the ground is cursed, not man. That's grace in judgment. And I have felt that grace inside the judgment. And I thank God that he has that grace while still judging. It allows me to be able to trust him way more. And also to be able to feel that sense of fatherhood. Really think about it. I think about my daughters, and when it comes to my daughters, I love them so much. And yet I still have to discipline them or essentially take something away for a period of time so that they can be able to make sure that they're doing something before they get that particular thing, whatever it may be. But I love them so much. So it does hurt when I have to do some type of discipline, not on a physical sense, but just on an emotional sense. So I understand as far as a father or as far as a dad, lowercase f, when I say father, in relating to them, where it's that same thing, grace inside judgment. But also showing more grace than the judgment. I have to make sure I keep that. So God doesn't destroy Adam. He curses his assignment, I don't know if I want to curse their assignment, but making sure that I have grace inside the judgment, because judgment sometimes is needed. But having grace while inside the judgment is what I want to stick with. So morality is emphasized. So dust to dust. This seals Adam's new destiny. Death is now certain, both physically and spiritually. So here's a summary of my thoughts here. So God holds Adam accountable for obeying another voice over his own. His punishment targets his purpose, his work. Even though Adam wasn't cursed, his mission was made painful. But even in judgment, God shows mercy. I see that in my life too. God didn't curse me. He just reset me. And that's really how I feel. He reset me to allow me to be able to recognize, hey, he is God. Do things the right way. Whether you're seen or not seen, just do the things the right way, because seen by people, because he always sees. He always hears. He always knows. The fear of the God is the beginning of all wisdom. And this is what is shared inside of Proverbs. And I've seen it firsthand. And I thank God for it. I truly thank God for it. And I pass that wisdom on to you. The fear of God is the fear of all wisdom, is the beginning of all wisdom. All right, so here's a summary thought for when it comes to Anthony. So sin distorts your assignment. What was once a place of joy becomes a space of resistance. Adam's disobedience didn't just cost him a piece of fruit, it cost him peace in his purpose. That's very interesting. Wow. That's really good. It didn't cost him a piece of fruit. It cost him peace in his purpose. Wow. Oh man, that is good. That is good. Because essentially that's what God did. He caused, it says it right here, with hard labor you shall eat from it, by the sweat of your brow. He's still allowing him to live in the physical, but making it painful and hard, where we now have to call for him, as opposed to here, the Garden of Eden, where he's always there. Now we have to call out for him. Where Adam should have called out for him when Eve was about to give the fruit. But her name wasn't Eve at that time, which is very interesting. We'll get into that in the next verse. So go ahead and keep on watching. You'll see that now he actually names her Eve. He doesn't name her Eve until the next verse. Her name is just woman at that period of time. Very interesting. So, and yet God's mercy is still there. Adam is not cursed. He still has a future, but now it's one marked by sweat, struggle, and the long road back to dust. Man, that's very interesting. So here's the reflection question. I encourage you to have it where these words, as far as the Bible, right, and the words that are in the Bible, we can read them. We can answer these. We can search the Holy Spirit to really understand the words. But these reflection questions allow you to be able to have it where the words are now, how does it apply to you and your heart and your mind, your spiritual connection with God? So that these words can be able to seep a little bit deeper. And this is what it's been doing for me. It's been great for me. And I encourage the same thing for you. So God holds Adam accountable for listening to someone else above him. Where in your life are you letting someone else's voice guide your actions more than God's? And what has that voice cost you? This is a great question. So this is what I wrote. So in recent decisions, instead of being patient and waiting for God to move, I asked others what they thought, as opposed to going directly to God. And I realized over and over and over, that is just a mistake. So I've seen that doing nothing, I have seen that doing nothing would have been better than following human wisdom. So now I'm choosing to wait, to pray, wait, even though it's scary to just wait. If God doesn't move, if God doesn't give me that answer, I won't either. This is what I've realized is the best way. But I also got to keep my eyes open, keep my ears open. And this is why Jesus always says, their ears are closed so they can't hear. Their eyes are closed so they can't see. I see what it means. We have to keep our ears open, our eyes open, because God is always sharing and always answering our prayers. But we have to know it's God doing it. Always. And this is why we have to, you know how Jesus talks about the sheep hear my voice, right? I understand what he's saying, where we can be able to pinpoint, oh, this is God. I know this is God. This is exactly what I prayed for. And this is why we have to write down our prayers too. All right. So it's hard to be able to be in that way. And I get it. Believe me, I get it. It's hard. It's uncertain. But now I trust that his plan is way better than mine. 100%. So this is why we got to stay in the word and really dive in deep to be able to understand what is the word saying. God gave us this word, and it's just so much better for me to be able to stay in the word and really like take it seriously so that I can be able to apply it in my life, because now I truly have the understanding. So as for the wisdom, right? The wisdom is given, but we also have to pray for the understanding of this wisdom so that now we can be able to apply it in our lives. That was Genesis 17 through 19. God didn't curse the man, thank God, but he did curse the very thing the man was created to cultivate. Now pain is woven into his purpose. Survival replaces delight, and the road back to dust begins. But even in this moment, we still see God's voice speaking. We still see mercy in the midst of judgment. So since you're going to be continuing with us throughout the playlist, here's a way to stay organized. Click on the like button right now. Then do it again at the start of every new video that you start in the playlist. That way, when you scroll through later, you'll see exactly which ones you've already completed, because they'll be marked with a like. This is an easy way to keep track of your progress on YouTube. And if this verse spoke to you in any way, take a moment to write it down in the comment section. What did the Holy Spirit highlight for you? I read every comment, and sometimes I include it in the next video. So if you want to connect deeper, you can also visit me at philipanglade.com, where all of my social media, projects, and contact info is listed. You can even share what you're personally going through or what you're praying for. I'd love to be able to walk you through and point you to what the word says about that situation. We're walking through verse by verse of the Bible together. I'll see you on the next one. God bless, and just keep reading.